Hi, Samya. How are you doing?
Hi Rakesh, I'm doing fine. Yeah.
Fantastic. Nice to have you at the meetup. And thank you for agreeing to just sit down with me and have a chat about what you're doing currently and about AI in general.
No worries. Yeah.
Let's start off with what you're currently doing right now. Let's tell the world.
So right now I'm working on multi-agent solutions, sort of multi-hop QA.
Okay.
And apart from that, I'm also working on GraphRag and Graph solutioning. So yeah, these are a few things which I'm working on. There is one passion project which I have, which is around integrating AI, GenAI, I would say, with 3D spatial data.
All right.
So I'm also looking forward to that.
That actually sounds quite interesting. I want you to elaborate on one.
Sure.
Which one would you pick?
So like recently I was part of a course where we learned 3D spatial computing and 3D designing and all. So I want to actually explore geospatial data and how we can integrate GenAI and in fact any kind of AI in terms of uh, forecasting and predicting certain things which happens in a city or in a large landscape. And that will be really helpful. Yeah.
Correct. Can you tell me, like, in general, when you see the trend of AI going?
Yeah.
Fintech has always been one of the first to adopt AI, right? You can see a lot of AI tools, AI chatbots, customer service. Can you tell me something other than fintech, an industry other than fintech that you see or predict that AI will have a long-lasting impact?
So I have worked quite a few projects on life science and healthcare domain as well.
Okay.
And I definitely feel that is a very strong domain where AI will play a major role because there is a lot of customer service and sort of supply chain management, etc. Those kind of areas where there will be a lot of automation as well as assisting medical team and doctors and emergency scenarios. There I feel AI will play a major role in coming years. Yeah.
Okay. I want to delve a little bit on the healthcare.
Yeah.
Because Geekians also has done quite a few work on healthcare.
Cool.
I want to ask, where do you draw the how do you draw the ethical line and how does it happen?
So, as long as the data is anonymized, whatever is getting used, to train your AI or, developing any kind of GenAI solutions, and you are working to sort of maintain a certain level of accuracy about what you're trying to do, I feel we are okay as long as we are not getting into a space where a certain decision can be life or death situation for a person. I think GenAI will anyway increase our automation and increase our efficiency of how we develop services and products. So yeah,
That's where the human in loop comes in the picture.
exactly.
Can you tell me a way where one can decide where to place human in loop? It might not be for healthcare, right? Because I was having some conversation with people in the meetup that we have just done. And most of them were talking about agentic AI.
Yeah.
There, the question was, where and how do you decide to put human in loop? Can you give me your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So in fact, I was thinking about this some time back.
Okay.
So my thought is that there are two type of activities or decision making which happens. So it's a little risk free, I would say. In those kind of areas, I see currently GenAI playing a major role in autonomously taking those decisions. But whenever I feel like there is a high risk scenario or some decision can have a widespread impact, I feel we still need to have a human in the loop to sort of review those kind of decision makings which AI does. Eventually, it will start learning and we'll get better there. But
Do you feel like the human that is put in the loop needs to be as good to, find out the anomalies there?
Definitely. There needs to be, I mean, so based on the domain, in which domain we are operating in,
Right.
that person definitely needs to be a subject matter expert. Otherwise, like any normal person cannot, they
Could put into that particular
Yeah.
position, right?
they can't see the ethical lines or the risk of that or what is the widespread impact of that apart from whatever he is able to visualize currently?
Understood. That actually brings me to an interesting question.
Okay.
I recently read an article where it said that because of this Gen AI tools, critical thinking of people is actually the basic.
Okay. Okay.
And this particular instant, right, when usually people used to think about something when they do it. Now it's a chat GPT from the way. At that point of time, how do you ensure expertise in a particular domain retains? You have all these AI tools to do actually all the work for you.
So, so my point of view about that is that there are two type of tasks. Okay, one is mundane task which you do regularly every day,
Okay.
and then there is task where we are visualizing anything and we are sort of thinking about it and then doing it. Okay, so I always feel like whatever is a mundane task or whatever is regularly getting done every day, those tasks getting automated will never have an impact.
Okay.
As long as you have a high level understanding of what is going to happen, what is your vision, and are you able to achieve that or not. So rather than focusing on small things at a micro level, we need to have our vision at a macro level and take the help of LLM to get those micro things done. As long as that is under our control, I feel we are in a good place.
All right. Got it. So, talking about mundane tasks, what are your top 5 AI tools that, reduces your mundane tasks in day-to-day life at the moment?
Okay, so I don't want to say mundane, but I generally use Copilot because
Copilot, okay.
yeah,
Where would you place it? 1 to 5?
maybe 2.
2. Copilot is 2. All right.
First would be Grok
Grok.
because
Very interesting.
yeah,
I'll come back to you on that.
definitely. Okay. Third will be probably Perplexity.
Perplexity. All right.
Fourth might be the AI part of the Google search, which was recently introduced.
Right.
Yeah, I think I mostly use this only. I don't think I
You don't think you have a number 5?
I yeah.
Got it. Why Grok? One of the first person to actually say Grok to me, he was an
Yeah.
engineer.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Why Grok?
So generally whatever AI tools and services I've used, the more sorted out and the more nuanced answers and nuanced understanding and actually the tools which are having high utility, I've always found out about Grok directly, because that the kind of web search and deeper search and deep search capabilities that Grok has, and also the kind of personas it also, so there is a lot of features about Grok. I don't know if you are aware of it about or not. So it has certain personas like it has a doctor, maybe sort of a physician, I would say, persona, therapist persona,
All right.
friend persona, like that. And apart from that, it has workspaces where, let's say you are working on a certain project and you are only talking about those kind of chats. You can always push them into a certain project or a workspace, and it will get those context, and your answering or your discussion will be totally on those lines.
Particular context.
That is one. Second is that its web search capabilities is very nuanced, as I said, right? It can do a deep search where it looks for questions, like you are asking something, it is going to web and it is searching it. It's not like it is directly going at searching it. It is also trying to understand the intent, and if it is not getting something, it is trying to find a workaround for that as well, which I don't think many of the other tools are doing as of now. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much sums why I like Grok.
Do you feel like Grok got an advantage because ChatGPT was already there and they knew what not to?
Definitely. So I mean, the first mover is always an advantage, but there are also some cons to it as well.
That's the con that I have.
Yeah.
All right. If you want an AI tool, right, to be built right now in the next 1 or 2 years, what problem would you want it to solve?
So I would say that we can sort of generalize, I would not say open source, but yeah, kind of open source a tool which gives a basic level of any knowledge, like universal knowledge, to everyone. So that, many people might not have, mentors or people who can teach them what to do or what not to do. If we have a certain, universal kind of a tool which is at disposal of everyone, and they can use it to learn whatever the skill set or whatever interests them, that will definitely be a great tool to have.
Can you give a suggestion where AI can be, a little more democratized or for everybody? Because at the moment, let's say I have a grandmom, she cannot use ChatGPT. While I know that half the questions that she asks can be answered by ChatGPT very easily.
Yeah.
Now, how can we ensure that we empower people who are not that tech savvy
Mhm.
to use ChatGPT more widely, or any other LLM tools, for example, more widely?
So I feel like as we progress more on the voice models and those
Right.
kind of areas,
Mm.
we'll be able to reach a point where all the different kind of languages can be modeled out and converted into a common language.
Okay.
Let's say it may be English, or for our country whatever language we wanna have, and based on that, uh, if chat is something, because everyone talks, right? Maybe some people are illiterate, but they do talk.
Yeah.
So if we can have that capability introduced in the models which we use, I think that will solve this issue to quite some extent.
Yeah, I also agree on that point. Now, last question.
Yeah.
You mentioned open source.
Yeah.
Can AI truly be open source?
We are not there yet, and eventually we'll reach there. I mean, there will always be the big players in every industry, but what I feel is that eventually people will have some kind of access to small language models which are quite powerful, but not at the level of the large language models or the general models which generally everyone uses. But you will be able to, at least you have basic understanding of it, you will be able to utilize it for your use cases, at least for a POC basis. I would not say you can productionize it, but yeah.
All right. So you're predicting a future where there's one group of players who's creating open source using small language, and the big players will already be way ahead.
Actually, you know what? Sometimes the big players also generate some open source tools, and
Yeah.
I would say sort of an encouragement, or I don't know.
React Native happened, right?
Yeah,
Worked
yeah.
from Meta.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also one of the big steps
Yeah,
from
it's
them.
like they also want the industry to expand so that they also have a better foothold there.
Correct.
So Llama, I feel, is one of those initiatives by Meta.
The right step.
Yeah.
Towards it. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for talking to me, Samya.
Thank you.
Pleasure.